the optimism of Jesus. Be of good cheer. John 16:33. Optimism is often misunderstood as a carefree and ignorant attitude where everything is believed to turn out fine no matter what. However, this is not the true meaning of optimism. Jesus, for example, cannot be categorized as an optimist if we define it in this way. There is a sentimental optimism that is irrational and immoral. It is a shallow and ignorant way of thinking that ignores the harsh realities and insists that everything is good in the world, despite evidence to the contrary. This kind of optimism is not found in the New Testament. On the other hand, there are also pessimistic individuals who only focus on the negative aspects of life. They see the suffering, misery, and vices that exist in the world and believe that everything is going downhill. They would emphasize all the crimes and atrocities happening around us and argue that society is decaying. Pessimists believe that things will only get worse and that there is no hope for improvement. However, these extreme perspectives offer little in terms of solutions to the world's problems. Instead, let's turn to a man who can give us confidence and hope. He was not blind to the suffering and sadness in the world. His eyes were open to the pain and heartbreak of humanity. He saw the suffering and recognized the deeper tragedy of sin. He understood the power of evil and the destructive paths it leads to. Despite all this, Jesus never lost hope. He faced the reality of the world, both the good and the bad, and still had a light on his face. He acknowledged the struggles and sorrows, but he also predicted a better future. He saw the potential for change and victory over evil. Jesus both sang and sobbed, but he never gave up or became overwhelmed. He always had faith and remained optimistic. This is the main message of the New Testament. It comes from a very tragic time in our history. Considering the sad story it has to tell, the New Testament should be a depressing book. It tells us about the life of someone who experienced a lot of sorrow and grief. It describes their sufferings over many difficult years, leading to their terrible death on a cross. It also includes their predictions of future troubles and destruction. It tells us that important cities in Galilee are heading towards destruction, and even Jerusalem, with its long history of triumphs, is doomed and will be completely destroyed. Despite this heartbreaking story, the New Testament does not make us sad or leave us feeling down. It is a joyful and uplifting book, and the words that stick with us are, "Take heart, I have overcome the world." The New Testament is a gospel, a wonderful piece of news because it is centered around the world's greatest optimist who brings hope and positivity. We have finally found the optimist we have been searching for. This is the person who can inspire our confidence and give us hope. We need someone who can see things as they truly are, who understands the darkness in the world. We cannot follow a leader who keeps insisting on peace when there is no peace, or trust a teacher who claims that everything is fine when the world's daily experiences prove otherwise. We need someone who feels the fury of the storm, but is also certain that calm will follow. We need someone who can accurately gauge the darkness of the night and also see the dawning of a glorious morning. Jesus is the ultimate optimist. His optimism comes from God himself. Let's try to uncover the secret behind Jesus' optimism. This secret is clearly evident throughout the gospel. It was a secret too good to keep. He shared it with whoever had ears to hear. The secret was a deep trust in God. Sometimes we are sure of God, but our faith can be clouded and intermittent, like the tide. Jesus never doubted. His vision was clear, and his trust was unwavering. To him, God was always a present Father. This was his new name for God. The prophets and poets of Israel rarely thought of God as a father, and only in vague terms. But for Jesus, God was always a father. He called God Father when he was just a 12-year-old boy, and he continued to use that term until his passing. He taught everyone who followed him to use this name for God. He was constantly amazed that people had such little faith in God. Have faith in God was his encouragement to live life and do good work. These words had the power of a revelation because they came from a heart that fully trusted in God. Alongside his unwavering trust in God, Jesus had an unshakable confidence in humanity. He believed in the potential and goodness of the human heart. He saw people's flaws, weaknesses, vices, and sins, but underneath all of that, he saw a soul created in God's image. He called Simon, who was known for being fickle and unreliable, a rock. Jesus saw the deepest part of him. He had confidence not only in those who went to church, but also in those who didn't. He had hope for tax collectors and sinners. He knew that Zacchaeus could change his ways and that Matthew could become a preacher. He believed that the most fallen individuals could find their way back up. He even told a group of pessimists who had lost faith in humanity, "The prostitutes will enter the kingdom of heaven before you." Man, despite his mistakes and failures, is a being on whom you can rely. He possesses the essence and nature of God. That's why Jesus said to Simon Peter, "You are a rock, and on this rock I will build my church, and the forces of darkness will not be able to overcome it." What incredible confidence! Can an unconquerable institution, one that no force in the universe can defeat, be built out of people? Can unbreakable foundations be laid in human hearts? Yes, says Jesus, and without any doubt about the faithfulness of his apostles, he entrusted them with the enormous responsibility and left. Nor could any experience weaken this belief in the abilities of human nature that come from a higher power. When has a person had more reason to lose faith in humanity than this positive thinker from Galilee? He lived in a corrupt and immoral time. The government was both oppressive and corrupt. The officials were mostly cynical and corrupt. The Jewish church was formal, lifeless, and hypocritical. Many of its leaders were disconnected from God's Spirit. Society was disgustingly corrupt. People everywhere doubted the honesty of men and the virtue of women. But Jesus trusted people. He did this even when faced with experiences that overwhelmed him, like a dark and destructive flood. His whole life was a tragedy. He was suspected, misrepresented, and hated. Liars surrounded him wherever he went. No matter what he said, his words were twisted, and no matter what he did, his motives were questioned. Such treatment would sour the heart of anyone who endured it for a long time. Jesus endured mistreatment all the way. The cruel people who tortured him in Pontius Pilate's courtyard were doing what people had done to him from the beginning. His life was a constant crucifixion. People always hurt him, pushing thorns into his head, jabbing spears into his side, and driving nails through his hands and feet. But he never lost faith in human nature. Even when he realized that people were determined to take his life, he said, "If I am lifted up, I will attract all people to me." He believed that no matter how cruel and evil human nature might be, deep down in people's hearts, there was still a part that would respond to forgiveness and love. Jesus' enemies were the most despicable, unprincipled, and diabolical group of people who ever tracked an innocent man to his death, but they never shattered his trust in the divine nature of the human heart. It was not only his enemies, but also his friends who caused him unimaginable pain. Among his own disciples, in his closest circle of trusted friends, there was a man who, in return for Jesus' trust and goodness, became a traitor and handed him over to those who planned to kill him. And this traitor did not betray him in a decent manner, even by traitor standards, but in a way that even a devil would be ashamed of. He betrayed Jesus with a kiss. Hell itself cannot produce anything more vile than treachery disguised in sweetness. But no matter what individual people may do, humanity can still be trusted. When people find their true selves, they will say, "I will rise and go to my Father." Jesus' faith contrasts greatly with the skepticism of many people we have known. There is nothing that shakes one's trust in human nature more than a negative experience early in life. A young person starts off with hope and trust, only to encounter deceitful and exploitative individuals of good reputation and high status, and as a result, they become skeptical and possibly cynical for the rest of their lives. A young woman begins life with a heart that trusts everyone, but she is deceived and betrayed by either a man or a woman, and she carries a wound that time cannot heal. In every community, there are people who have become bitter towards the world, suspicious of everyone, and holding on to the belief that no one can be trusted. It would be beneficial for all such cynics to come to Jesus and learn from him how to expect great things from human nature in all places. He sees the shallowness, insignificance, and fragility of the heart, but he also sees its potential, its possibilities, and the small beginnings of virtues and graces that can be nurtured by the Spirit of God. We judge people too much based on their current abilities and not enough on their potential, on who they are today, and not on who they can become in the future. It was because Jesus could see the future that he could stand amidst the wreckage of a broken society and say, "Stay positive." This determined optimist has confidence in you. You may have lost hope in yourself, but he hasn't. You see your weaknesses, flaws, and wickedness, but he sees deeper. He sees your potential for goodness. He knows what you can achieve when you find yourself. He also sees deeper into the nature of God. You may not fully grasp the patience or the mercy of the infinite Father, but he does. You may not understand what infinite love can accomplish, but he does. Because of your wrongdoings, you may have lost faith in yourself, but he hasn't. Because you have failed countless times, you may believe that there is no point in trying again, but he says, give it another shot. If you give yourself to him, he will make you an optimist.